Some wiring runs deep. Religion, dogma, the stories you inherited before you had a choice. Maybe it was wrong. This show pulls it apart. Hard questions, no guaranteed answers, zero apology. This is Rewired.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Rewired with Jan Berger and Matt Stein. Say hi, Matt.
I say howdy.
Oh, that's right. You say howdy. Howdy, howdy, howdy.
We have so much fun with that.
Every time. Well, and I just watched Toy Story yesterday, and so I just think, I'm Woody. Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Hey, howdy, hey.
That's
Oh,
right.
my. Run like the wind, bullseye.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm a big Toy Story fan. Big Toy Story fan.
I remember, like, in 1995, before it came out, they released these tiny little clips that took forever to download, and we watched them over and over. And I think they were essentially GIFs, and we watched them over and over and over. So there's certain clips of Toy Story that it's like it takes me into that time frame because I've seen that wrong repeat. Fun fact.
That's the only part of Disney World that I really enjoyed was going on the Toy Story rides.
Interesting.
Because they were games, basically. Have you ever?
No, I don't remember that. I've been there, but I don't think I was in the right place.
Again, this was years ago. I don't remember exactly where it was. I think it was in Hollywood Studios. Yeah. And they had but like they have and you basically it's a ride, but it's also a game. And you're like, you have these little, well, they've had two different versions. One, you had these little laser guns. And as you're spinning around inside the thing, like there's these target ranges of like stuff you're supposed to shoot at, and you would shoot the lasers, and somehow it records whether you actually hit the target or not, and then at the end it tells you who in the car won. So then they did another version where they're like, oh, like we have to like majorly upgrade. So instead of them being like physical target ranges, they were computer screens that would reveal the game. And you were still shooting at them, but when you would shoot, you would see the thing that you were shooting appear on the screen and go towards the target. And that was like a whole car competition because you had like 1, 2, 3, 4, and you couldn't see the people behind you, but there was a screen that had all 4 of your scores. Like it was fun.
That does
The
sound
kids
fun.
loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it because I never had mercy on the children in games. Like if we're gonna play a game, we're gonna play a game. So yeah, fun times. So you watched Toy Story yesterday because I said howdy, and that's how we got on this whole tangent, which is awesome.
Mhm.
I love
So
that.
good. I have a feeling inner child is going to come up today. Now that
Well,
we started
someone
there.
had a very important birthday recently.
I did, yes. It was a big deal.
It was a big deal.
It was a big deal. It was a big deal birthday, the big 40.
The big 40. We now have a single decade demographic on this podcast. We started with 2, but we have now crossed the cusp, and now we've got 2 40-somethings. I mean, if this podcast survives a few years, we'll go back because someone is, in someone's inside of 50 enough that it's like, that's feeling pretty close. That's not like something that I can really joke about anymore because it's gonna
Nope.
be me.
Yep. The minute I hit 39 and a half, I was like, well, I'm 60 now. It's over.
You're
Yeah,
60 now.
it's fine. I'll just skip it.
Well, you know, when you get to the point that I'm at, you're like, you realize, oh, I'm much closer to my second Saturn return than my first one, and it's like you only get 3. So
If you're lucky, you get 3 Saturn returns.
yeah,
Ugh.
like, I mean, maybe medical technology will actually start working again, and we'll get 4 one day. Who knows? But that also sounds
Who knows?
exhausting,
Yeah. Yeah, it does. I'm tired,
right?
man.
Shall we
Tired.
pull a card?
Let's see.
So today I thought since it's Pride Month that I would bring the Gay Marseille
I've
Tarot.
not seen this, so it looks like fun.
It is a very it's a very gay deck, very fun deck. Um, it was not my first Marseille deck, but it was one of those. It's like I have to have this deck. And yes, I have started messing around with rifle shuffling again. I'm bad at it still, and I just bin a card. But you know, sometimes you just start doing things differently for no reason at all until you find out what the reason is years later. This is a very smooth deck, so I can just spread it out. I wish I could show that on camera. That's beautiful. Something's telling me this card is the card. Interesting. So we have the Empress coming
Love
out
this.
today.
I love this. The imagery
Eh,
is fantastic.
Is it not
It's so
fantastic?
good. Mhm.
Ugh, fun times. Fun times. Let's see if there's anything fun in the guidebook before we dive into this one. I'm also bad. If a deck comes with like a separate guidebook that you have to buy, I can't not buy it. Which is why sometimes I actually wait on decks because I'm like, I can't afford the deck and the book right now, and I don't want the deck without the book. So yes, the Empress has traditionally been connected to motherhood or Mother Earth, encompassing areas of fertility, birthing, and nurturance. But these concepts need not be tied to sex or gender. The Empress represents the fecund creative impulse in all of us, inviting us to embrace the fertility of our minds, hearts, and hands. Moving on. In our version, the Empress's shield bears the words live, laugh, liberate. While humorous, the slogan highlights the real liberatory power in this subtly radical archetype. Liberation means rising into the power of the feeling our strongest emotions and embodying our truth in the fullest, deepest, most potent form, what Audre Lorde called the erotic. So those are just a couple of there's much more, but yeah, what's coming up for you?
I don't know. I feel like I should have a lot to say about this because of a whole podcast on divine feminine. But I think
I have
I've said
put
so
you
many
on the
things.
spot.
What's your interpretation, JR? Well, my interpretation of the Empress is usually Venus, right?
Yeah.
Just generally Venus and Taurus, and going okay, the end. Moving on to something else now, and that's usually what I do with that. But it's clear there's more that we need to discuss here than it's Venus. Go away. And I think it's just because the Empress appears so early on in the Fool's journey that
Mhm.
it seems weird to me because like in the hero's journey, the goal is basically the Empress. You are all trying to get to the
Right.
hero's journey is about getting to the divine feminine. And here you are right in the beginning. You have the divine feminine and then the divine masculine figure archetypes come up kind of close to the beginning, and I don't know what to do with that. And that's usually I think why I kind of go the Empress is Venus and I move on, because it seems weird that that is the beginning of the story.
So I'll argue with you a little bit for
Do it.
fun.
That's fine.
Um, like the way I read the majors is the divine masculine and feminine are actually the magician and the high priestess. And
Uh,
then the
yeah.
empress and the emperor are literally the great mother and the great father. And
Okay.
what you're actually experiencing as you go through that is, if everything began as unity, and depending on how you talk about this, you find yourself working your way into the Fool being at the beginning, but also at the end, and maybe even everywhere in between. Like the Fool is like before there are separate things, 0. And then you divide unity and you get 1 and 2. You get the thesis and the antithesis. You get the masculine, you get the feminine. This is the first place that we encounter duality, but it's not very concrete yet. Like it's just like this, very kind of projective force and this very receptive force, and they kind of balance one another. But then you get to something a little more tangible with like the mother and the father. And then eventually it gets even, more tangible as you get into like um the Hierophant and the lovers. I don't know, like it's a weird I don't think it maps directly to the hero's journey. I think it does map to the hero's journey, but I don't think it's so much like this is this linear thing where, oh, you've gotten to the end because you've gotten to the, and I remember the episode where y'all went into this in great detail with the hero's journey and the heroine's journey, both of which I think are fascinating. Um, anyway,
Yeah, no, you're right. Because I've always said, as a shorthand, to help people kind of wrap their heads around people who aren't familiar with tarot. So I've always said the major arcana is basically the hero's journey, but it's I know it's not, but it's an epic story that is applicable to everybody, similar to how the hero's journey
yeah,
is
totally,
also.
totally.
Right.
And
So I
energies
don't.
are the same. The
Yes,
energies are very
but
much the
the
same.
sequence of events, correct, like totally different. But it helps. Yeah, I say that as a shorthand to help people wrap their minds around
It is right.
what the
It's a
major
good
arcana
shorthand.
is.
It's a good
Yeah.
shorthand.
But I want to be clear.
Um,
You're right. You are
like
absolutely right about that.
we are so far down this rabbit hole, and I forget that not everybody is.
Yeah.
And so I forget sometimes that, like, I start talking about the tarot and the person I'm talking to doesn't know all 22 major arcana, um, and why they are where they are in the progression or have an opinion. It's really, there's not a why. Um, there's a lot of opinions about the why. Like there's at least half a dozen different ways that I've seen people say, this is how the major arcana are really structured. And they're all cool and they're all interesting and they all make sense, but I don't think any of them win.
No. And there's a reason that it's sortilege, right? It's supposed to be mixed up. You're not supposed to experience it in order per se.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that's normal. That's normal. I do
Which is
think that
funny.
it's what?
I made that game on Hidden Door
Yeah.
based on the majors. And one of the things that I coded into the game was you don't experience the stations in a linear, 1 through 22 order. You experience them based on the choices that you're making along the journey. And based on that, like in theory, every game should be unique to a person playing it, but also, there's a little bit of unpredictability just built into it. Like, if 2 things make sense to serve up next, which one is it going to choose? Because I made sure that it wasn't like there's a suggested progression, but it's like, um, it's just there so that you can kind of have structure to the world and understand how it fits together. But, the only thing I think I had in common is I had in the game, everybody enters at the Fool's Cliff.
Yeah.
But then where you go from there, Who knows?
Who knows?
So back to this little guy. Or you had something you were going to say.
Oh, no, I do think it's interesting that you put it in terms of the magician and the high priestess, or the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and then the uh empress and it's hierophant emperor next.
Empress
Yeah.
and Emperor.
I don't know why. I was like, what the heck? Um, those two being more slightly more embodied versions, so the divine mother and the divine father, being different than divine masculine, divine feminine. That's
Yeah.
interesting to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a good point. But it's to me that's like, how do you get to this planet? Right?
Uh-huh.
You're a fool, and then so I never thought about it that way. It was interesting.
Yeah, I only recently, when I started studying at the archetypal tarot school, I guess it was last fall is when I started doing that. Mariana Lewis, like, she started going down these rabbit holes years ago and basically created a method of reading, and then eventually decided to start teaching that method of reading, and has now published a book that has all that in it. But yeah, I was always looking for, because I'm studying all this Carl Jung stuff, that whole universe, and I've been studying tarot, and I'm like, these two things belong together. I just can't quite get to what it looks like yet. And so I started searching for people, and I ran into her YouTube videos, and then I just, bought everything that she had over the last 2 years. And now I read in that style most of the time also. I mean, I read in multiple styles at the same time. Like, I read in my style. But she's one of the core influences in how I got that progression that I described, I think, from her originally. I might have seen it somewhere else once or twice, because there's a handful of people who have explored the intersection. She's the most contemporary one, because you can actually go take classes from her like now. Whereas most of the other folks, I don't, they've either published books, or some people have made, there's a Jungian explicit deck that makes some choices that are interesting. And I never really felt drawn to read with it, but I will take it out and just look at the imagery from time to time and see what it conjures up. But yeah, I felt like that made sense to me, because I had learned all the archetypes, and like the anima and animus kind of being the divine masculine and feminine, the closest you get. Like, Jung really doesn't do divinity as much. Like, that word just doesn't show up. And then modern Jungians have really like brought it more into a materialistic mindset. But when I read it, I see divine. Like, I see that what he calls, this is the gateway into the divine. And those are the key figures. And those are the key ways that we as humans interact with the divine, is through those, right? So so I learned all that, and then oh, well, this is the magician and the high. I understand the magician and the high priestess totally differently now than I used to. Like, I didn't really get them before. I mean, I got the keyword explanations, like, you know, magician, inspired action, high priestess, intuition, gnosis, self-knowledge. Like, I got that, but that's not it. It's ineffable. Like, you can't describe it with words, really. It's a feeling. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me. It makes a lot of sense to me.
Good. Good. Since you are an expert on the divine feminine, I now, say, oh, look, I don't have crazy opinions on this. Excellent.
I don't know. I'm not. Yeah, I don't
You're
have all
not.
the
You
answers.
don't want to
I
claim
promise you
expert.
that.
Well, you are a podcaster extraordinaire in the area of the divine feminine, with your cohort of hosts there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which is funny because I was listening to your birthday episode and it turned into an AI conversation. I thought that was
Yeah, I didn't expect
wild.
that to come up, which was interesting at all. Like, it's not something I tend to talk about. But I don't even remember why it came up, but it was just like, I have to say these things. Yeah. And
I
it
think
is
I
very
think it was
interesting.
I can't remember who. Someone brought up the app.
Oh, yeah, that's probably it. Yeah.
Someone brought up TarotPulse, and then it was like 2 steps away.
Yeah. Because I think that a lot of people are like so nervous and understandably so about, okay, is this new technology going to dictate my spiritual experience now? And I think
Mm.
that's always the question, is whatever technology good or bad? Is it going to take away my autonomy or is it going to add to it? And how can people use this against me? And unbeknownst to me. And I think that's always a big concern when you start merging spirituality and technology.
Yeah. You know what just kinda came up for me listening to that was the, um, the light side and the shadow side of this card.
Mm,
Because if we're talking about the Great Mother, we're also talking about the devouring mother.
yeah.
And what I just heard you say was there's this creative technology that's threatening to devour a lot of things. Interesting way the Empress comes into the conversation about
Mm-hmm.
AI.
Mm-hmm.
And this card, is all about liberation, and that doesn't feel very liberating.
No, because the shadow side is, oh, you can't pick up the high side without the shadow side. It's always possible.
Yep. Right. Right. And I don't think it's funny. I always wonder, like, when I'll have these little conversations with myself throughout the day, and then they'll just kind of happen and then go away, and then they'll come up again, um, in an unpredicted circumstance. So this just happened.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about there's this notion of fitting the narrative, and I think that a lot of why it's hard for us to have the conversations that we need to have about AI, but also more broadly creative destruction, is that we think we can have one without the other, and we pick a side, and that side has a narrative, and that narrative strips out all the nuance and makes it to where we're really just shouting at each other from opposite sides of a chasm that doesn't have to be there. In fact, in reality, it's not really there. Like, it's something that we have projected out into the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because it's two sides of the same coin, and if you pretend like the other side is over there, it's not. That's not real. You're imagining this over there. It's on you. It's it's right. It's literally right there. Yeah, and you have to, if you have to pick a side, you're always going to be stuck somewhere. But yeah.
And you're never actually truly picking a side. What you're picking is a set of things that form your narrative, your story, and everything that's not necessary for that story, you leave out. And some of the stuff that you're leaving out actually contradicts your story. And it doesn't matter how you slice it up, that's always true. Because you're
Mm,
always choosing, like, this is the part of me that I'm going to share with the world, and this is the part of me that I'm going to hide. And you have all of it. You're just we all have all of it. We just choose to express different sets of things based on what conditioning, programming, like how, what were the imprints early in life that told us what was safe and what is dangerous. And that's making all those decisions as to what we allow to be seen and what we hide.
Yeah.
And if you think that being associated with AI is unsafe, then the only thing that you're going to show publicly is that is dangerous, that is scary, that is a monster, that is the enemy. Um, because that feels like protecting yourself. But is it? Because while we're all saying evil, nasty, horrible, take it away, hide it from me. I read something this morning. It's like, I need Substack to have a button where I can automatically hide all AI content because I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's like we're trying so hard right now to like pretend that's not part of our reality, make it go away. While that we're doing that, all of these people who are up here creating these things and having the conversation, they're the only ones in the room talking. They're the only ones in the room making decisions. And they have power. Now it was funny because yesterday the government pushed back on Anthropic and said, hey, this is a national security risk. You cannot allow foreign nationals to use this. And so they took it away from everybody
Yeah.
because they had no way to, demonstrate that it was only being used by US citizens.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not the first time that's been a thing.
Mm-hmm.
There used to be two different versions of all the internet browsers. There was the US version and there was the version that we could export because it used different encryption. And we wouldn't let people outside the US see our, super duper best encryption algorithms because then they could hack us, right? That was the whole reasoning there. So we're having a similar thing happen now. Oh, you can use this to find all the vulnerabilities in someone's software. Well, we can't allow people outside the US to do that. Um, Funny thing is a lot of people were using it to do that so they could make their software more secure.
Yeah.
But here's another one of those shadow side, um, light side things that comes into play in this conversation. It comes into play in witchcraft. Like, to do the light side, you have to understand the dark side. To do the right hand path, you have to understand the left hand path. If you want to protect yourself from a curse, you need to understand how to curse. If you want to protect yourself from a hacker, you need to know how to hack. And so they're trying to say, oh, well, that's dark, so you can't have the light either. What does that do? That just makes us blind. I didn't know I had all this up here this morning, JN. This is crazy.
Do you feel like, I don't know, I'm having a lot of swimming downloads that I don't make heads or tails of sense to what you're saying at all. Like none of it does. But
Feel free to throw them out and see what happens.
it's like memories, and I'm like, why am I getting this memory coming up right now? It's
Ooh,
very
that's
strange.
interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, when you try to only let the light in, you're actually going to end up blocking out a lot of the light because you can't have light without the dark. It doesn't work that way. And there's something to be said for when something doesn't exist in the human consciousness and then it does, we all have a responsibility to interact with it in some way because we're going to, whether we consciously do it or not, right? Either it
Yeah,
will
yeah, totally.
act upon us or we act, because this whole I never want to see an AI photo again problem is a problem because you're just trying to pretend like it never happened. You can't put it back in the box. You just can't.
And you could
So
be mad that we took it out of the box, but that's not gonna make it go
yeah,
away either.
yeah,
It's okay to be
yeah.
mad, in fact. I don't have I think anger is a very valid reaction to a lot of the stuff that's happening, but
Mhm.
that also just because your anger is valid and well placed doesn't mean that it's gonna go back in the box.
Right, right.
It is literally Pandora's box.
Mhm. And I think this is the biggest one we've opened yet because it has such versatility in everywhere. So we'll see what happens. But I will say, like, it's opened up doors, I think, for people who previously thought they didn't have any doors available to them. So, like,
Mhm.
for example, someone was like my friend's book on Facebook, right? And the response was, ugh, the cover's made by AI. How do I know this isn't an AI written book? Well, I guess you don't, but the cover, like literally judging a book by its cover, be based on the fact that the cover was clearly made by AI. If an author is so determined to write a book and is so so passionate about writing that book, why do they need to focus on the artwork for the cover? Like, they're clearly doing this out of the joy of their heart, writing this book, and they're not an artist. So here, let me generate a cover that makes sense for the book I wrote. And but
You
it's
should have
so
paid a
strange to
human to
me.
do it, Jan.
Right. Should have gone into debt to pay a human to do something that is not the craft of the person, right? I don't know. I just feel like it opens up a door to say, okay, I am putting this book out in the world and it has to have a cover, and I'm not thrilled about it being AI, but like at least it has a cover that I didn't have to spend thousands of dollars on. Barrier of entry to that, yeah, way, way less expensive.
And I
I don't
think
know.
that this is, there's no easy answer to what you're saying because, yeah, like, are there people who do that craft of being able to create beautiful art for covers for a living that are going to lose business because of AI? Yes. But also, if I can't afford to pay them, does that mean that I shouldn't have a cover for my book?
Right.
Are you saying that me being able to pay for all of the aspects of the production of this thing I want to bring into the world, it's solely my responsibility, and if I can't do that, therefore I don't get to create? That is very, I don't know. I can't find just one word to apply to it. But it's like, okay, who are you to decide that's the gate? Because it's true. Like, there are a lot of people who are now able to create things that would not have otherwise been. It's not that they could have created them another way.
Yep. They just wouldn't have.
I mean, and I'll fuck it. TarotPulse would never have been. I did not have the time to create that piece of software without AI. Is it horrible that I brought that into the world that way? Well, obviously I'm biased, but I'm sure there are people who would say, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, you have you're you're personally sovereign. You do not have to use it. You do not have to like it, but that doesn't mean that you get to tell me it is morally wrong for me to have done it, and therefore I shouldn't be allowed to do it. And that's also true when you set it beside, are there a billion problems with the AI that I use to do it? Yes. But there are a billion problems with every bit of the technology that we are using right now to make this podcast. Like, like there's not a thing that is in play right now that isn't tainted in some way. But that goes back to the things that fit my story that matters. But the things that I don't need for my story, we just won't talk about those things. We'll just pretend they're not there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna
Which I
ignore
think
this
that's
until it
part of
goes
what this
away.
podcast is about, y'all, is we don't do that. We don't we
I'm not,
don't
yeah.
we don't hide this stuff. We're actually trying to have the real conversation about the thing, and that's messy and hard and can be uncomfortable and all the things.
Yeah. Because it's in the confusion, it's in the mess, it's in the unwiring that we can even have the conversation to rewire. It's really impossible to do without the curiosity and holding nothing back, you know? There's this whole thing of like, "Oh, I will always believe this thing over here and it will never be changed." And when you decide that can never be changed, then you have stunted your growth and you made it impossible. You've really like told your brain like just don't make more connections here. And that's very stunting for your growth and it's going to cause a lot of struggle and peace internally. Um anyways, so there is a required like breaking down in order to in order to break down you have got to be okay with uncertainty, with not knowing the answer, with confusion. So yeah, all of this is about rewiring. Yeah, we're going to talk about everything like it's okay and then going, well, where can the lines be? And what is the impact of drawing this line? That's just if you don't do that work, then you're not going to integrate and you're just going to be very frustrated at life in general. And life is changing so fast that you have to change with it. It's not 1831 anymore and you can live the same way your whole life and and
I think
that's
it's
it.
interesting as we're having this conversation. Like I was editing episodes yesterday and I was working on episode 1 and we're talking about, the worlds that we came from. And, I find it, one of the selling points of the evangelical God is that he never changes. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. Can't remember the number of times I heard those exact words sitting in church. And like people hold on so tightly to that. Like God's always the same. God will never change. God's always exactly what I know him to be. Um, and so therefore, we need to go back to this mythical time when that's the way everything was, that we all just, we need to go back, we need to return to God. Um, and then everything will stop changing and it will all be set up to benefit rich white men. Um, um, I I joke, but
Well,
not
and I
really.
think that the like deepest message of that is generally true, but our perception of Jesus or God can change and our own belief system around that can change. That's not God, right? That is a belief system that we and
Yeah.
that's okay to change, but like there when you if you don't separate out God from your perception of God and do that step, then they're in your mind are one and
Well,
the
you have to do
same.
that step with any archetype.
Yeah.
Like that's what's interesting. Like the program I've been going through this year is called Archetypal Family Field. And like the core mechanism of that teaching is that what you see when you think of God or mother or father or any of those archetypes is it's a complex of the actual archetype and your image that you've imposed upon it based on your personal experience. And what they're trying to get you to do is pull those apart so you can see them for what they are individually and not be limited by your perception, to actually be able to engage with the real power. Like like the only way that I believe that God, or what, again, God is just a word I'm applying to a concept that has many names, but like the only way that that is unchanging is that it already contains everything. So there's nothing to change into because it's all of everything always. Um, so like every way that we interact with that is going to be through either our perception of it based on programming or our perception of it based on a personal connection that we have by working with that energy, right? Like if you don't do your own work, all you're going to have is what you were given, what you accepted from the outside. And that's just what somebody else gave you. It's not the genuine. You haven't actually seen the genuine yet. You've seen bits and pieces of the genuine, but all refracted through, this they call it the imago in the training. Um Didn't expect that to come up this morning, but it's exactly what you're saying. Like we literally have a whole multi-week program that's focused on doing the exact work that you just described. Um, with each of these things, and they start with mother and father because those are probably, I mean, they're our first experience of that, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
whoever you imprint that mother archetype onto, whether it's your actual mother or some other figure because you didn't experience your actual mother, um, that person they represent mother to you.
Mhm.
Like not just your mother, but this is what mother means, what it is, its
Yeah.
essence.
Yeah.
Which is also what this card is
It's all
trying to.
about.
It's just a symbol of that, right?
Yeah.
But this
Yeah.
is not the mother.
Mhm.
This is just an anchor like we can hold on to consider the mother through. But there are an infinite number of other symbols, right?
Yeah.
This is fun and also crazily deep, and I did not expect to get this far down the rabbit hole, but I'm having a good time.
It's so good. And I think that a big part of the Empress is, like you said, that creative force. And that creative force requires destruction to create. And when we wield this card, we can use it, the destruction, and think that we're creating, right? So it's like, how many how many mothers of grown children, so total grown-ups, have been like all this weaponized emotional stuff, right? And they think they're making the person better by saying mean stuff,
Mm,
and they're not. They're using the destructive force, and they don't realize they're trying to use the creative force. And because yes, to build up, you need to break down, but if you use that in a way that's manipulative, and you start with, oh, I'm going to break down this thing in you that is actually functioning properly, and I have my own wounds about that, so I want to project that onto you, and I'm not going to deal with my own stuff.
mm.
You're gonna get some of that. And then the kid doesn't want to talk to their mom anymore, right? But I think everybody in their own way goes through this, and it's kind of funny. As we've been talking about like the mother archetype and the shadows and all this, I keep remembering a friend of mine's. We've always said we're going to write a book called "Your Mom's a Bitch and It's Okay."
I've heard you mention this before.
Have I really?
I don't remember when, but that's not the first time I've heard that.
But it's just true. It doesn't, like, everybody's mom can do this. I myself included. and it's just like part of the acceptance of what is, that the shadow feminine is the shadow mother can do this, and it can be really awful, and it's okay, and you
We
don't have to take it
excuse
on.
behavior in mom and dad that we would never excuse in another human being on the planet.
Right. Yeah.
Not only do we excuse it, but, like, we sometimes believe we deserve it.
That might be true, or even defend it to say, "Oh, well,
Yeah,
they can see at a different, level than us," or
which is true.
whatever. Also, yeah, also
Yeah, it's
true.
true. Like, all these things can be true and it can still be terrible. Like, I think that's the part that's just underneath all of these conversations is that multiple things can be true at the same time and actually be at war with one another as well. And we want to believe that we can actually sort all that out and get the bits that we don't like out of reality when in fact, I don't know, I think if you could actually do that, it would literally, like, somehow split and destroy reality,
Yeah.
like, you
Yeah.
can't. It's part matter can neither be created nor destroyed. Matter and energy are the same thing, like, so if we get rid of some of that, that seems like that breaks all the laws of physics that we understand and
It's
would
really an
cause.
illusion
Yeah.
that you're doing that. It's not even I don't think it's even possible to actually get rid of the
Right,
bad
so if
stuff.
you but if you could, like, you can even have that conversation, it's like, "I don't know where this leads, but it's nowhere good."
Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching some sci-fi, I don't remember what it was the other day, and, like, oh, it was, it was Star Trek, Lower Decks, the cartoon one, and, there were all of these, like, rifts forming in space that were, like, allowing you to cross from dimensions into another dimension. So, like, how one of the long-running tropes in Star Trek has been there's the parallel universe, and everybody in the parallel universe is, like, the bad version of you. Well, they discover, oh, there's not just one parallel universe, there's actually infinite parallel universes, but every time this person goes through this rift, they're, like, tearing this part of the fabric, and eventually it's gonna destroy all of reality, and if we don't stop them. It's that kind of thing. Like, that's so far-fetched, but it's like, if you could actually do it, there's like, "Okay, this isn't gonna work." So we have to figure out how to live in this mess, because it's always gonna be a mess. And also, that's okay. It doesn't messes aren't bad. They're not good. They just are.
For sure. Yeah. Messes just are. There's this obsession with like, oh, you can't ever have a mess.
I used to work at Old Navy,
Mm.
and at Old Navy, you have all these tables where all the clothes are folded. And so, obviously, people come through, they wanna find a size. Do they nicely try to find? No, they toss shit everywhere until they find what they want, and then they leave it that way. And so, part of my job was to come behind those people and fold the table, and there's, like, several of these, and you're working your way down. And by the time you got into the 3rd table, you look back, and the 1st table is worse than it was before you fixed it the first time. And you do that until your shift is over. And
Mhm.
it's like as long as there are multiple actors in this system, it's going to trend toward chaos.
Yeah.
And so you just have to say, "All right, chaos is just part of my reality. How do I navigate that?"
Yeah.
Which I recognize is terrifying. Like, I've been living that way for a while. It wasn't always, like, something that I could speak about in this very, matter of fact way. Like, a few years ago, not long ago, like, I wouldn't have been able to have this conversation. So, So I recognize if you're listening and this sounds absolutely crazy and terrifying, you're right. I'm not gonna make it go away, but you're right.
Yep. I worked at Aeropostale. I always said that that was high-end laundry job
Yeah.
because they're just always folding,
Yeah.
always folding. It's
Always
funny.
folding. Always folding. But it was better than working the register because you just don't really know until you work a register in a store like that, how many people will walk in with stuff trying to return it. Like, it's like, "Okay, we haven't sold this in, like, 3 years." And it was like that all day,
Yeah.
like, and I was like, "Okay, well, at least when I'm folding the shirts don't try to get me to do things for them. They're chill, they don't care. They're not an active participant in this." But when I actually had to deal with the humans who were showing up with just ridiculous stories, I'm just like, "Okay, I'd rather go fold shirts. I'd rather go push the boulder up the hill."
Really. I had a lady walk in and try to return a shirt that had a hole in it, but she was wearing it. I was like, "I'm sorry.
It's not how this works.
Not how this works." Okay. Well, what's one piece of wisdom that you want to say, one last thing you want to leave
One
everybody
piece of
with?
wisdom?
Yeah, especially in regards to the Empress.
You know I can't dispense wisdom on demand like that.
What? You're not a
Um,
wisdom vending machine?
I mean, I am, but I have to be walked into it. Like, I'm a sacral responding generator. Like, if you give me something to respond to, I'm gonna talk like crazy. Say something smart. Oh, fuck. Um,
Say something empressy.
no, like, I mean, the Empress has helped me a lot to understand, like, the idea of birthing something into the world because that's not something that my biology allows for. And, I've expressed my frustration about this to you before. Like, there's not a whole lot of resources out there for someone who's not a woman to learn about the divine feminine that aren't terrible. And so if you actually truly want to learn about this, and like for me, like I deeply wanted to, I was so sick of toxic masculinity that I decided that I was just going to go live in the feminine for a while and learn that side of reality because I've now since circled back and have reintegrated that side. But the Empress and the archetypes around the feminine and the mother and all that, they helped reground me in that aspect of myself that I didn't really get anywhere else, where I wasn't constantly having to translate. And it's fun for me that the Empress here is obviously you know a, a dude,
It's a
um,
beard. That's what
right?
I was gonna bring up here. So it's very interesting that this is your wisdom dispensary because we didn't even bring up the fact that this
Right.
particular Empress has a beard.
Yeah,
And
beard and
that
and and an
isn't
Adam's
is
apple and you know this person is clearly expressing a gender identity that differs from what they were assigned at birth. And that was the choice for the Empress. I believe they did the other direction as well. Um, yeah, the emperor's not is not um Well, I can't really say this okay, so they say, yeah, a trans-masculine anarchist anti-emperor is how they've I don't have the card, but here's the guidebook picture.
I
I
see.
think he looks like Prince, personally, but
Yeah. Yeah.
a little bit, but, yeah, there's like, almost everything in here is it's not, it's not just gay, it's, like, broader queer identity, but also, like, very liberation focused. And that's what I like about the deck, is it's like every card is like a rebellious version of the archetype rebelling against the structures that suck.
Yeah. And I think that the purpose of this card, from what I can sort of, it seems to me that that just generally speaking, more men need to go find the Divine Mother and heal with that in general, um, because that is one of the key places where the power over paradigm, the patriarchy concept has really caused issues with men. But then to do that would be to follow the queer path. Oh, and that is, I think, the scariest thing for men raised in patriarchy.
Yeah.
If
Yeah, I mean,
not, if
well,
I'm
not
not
only is it
putting,
scary, like, we are told that it is evil. Like, it's not just like, it is something that if you do this, will be deserving of eternal conscious torment after you die.
yeah,
Like, it's one of the things on the list. And, like, I remember, in my early 20s when I, for better or worse, ended up diving deep, 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 deep down the Southern Baptist rabbit hole. I'd grown up that way, but I didn't really embrace it until I was a young adult. And like, there was very clearly this concern that men weren't being masculine enough. And so everything that was targeted at men was targeted at the, you know, eating big hunks of meat and Monday night football version of masculinity. And like everything about the feminine was over there. Like you had the women's stuff and you had the men's stuff. And the women's stuff was targeted at a very, you know, stereotypical version of femininity that gets rid of some of the best parts. Um, and the same thing, like, and it just didn't make sense. Like, because then if you retrospect, you could see that they were trying to smuggle in aspects of the masculine to the feminine and the feminine to the masculine
yeah,
without calling them what they are.
yeah,
It's like, oh, well, you need to be a gentle father. Well, why? Men aren't gentle. Like, well, you have to, like, it doesn't make sense when you separate the thing from its essence to me. And maybe it just doesn't in general, but um, yeah, that was what the teaching was. And then when I started observing the world and seeing where that was leading, I was like, this is disgusting. I don't want a part of this. But when I was going through that, it was, oh, well, it's masculinity that's bad. I wasn't yet at the point where it's like, oh, you can't get rid of either one.
yeah,
You
yeah,
have to have both. You just don't have to always get the darkest aspects of the one that you're living in right now. Like you can consciously choose, but the only way you can consciously choose is to accept that both are there. And of course, I'm chart ruled by Mercury, so Mercury's, the very symbol of androgyny and
Yeah.
bringing the feminine and the masculine together and playing both sides and all of that stuff. It took me until this stage in my life when I decided to learn astrology and the astrology was the gateway into the mythology again. And it's not like I had never seen mythology before, but again, not the way I see it now. And now I was like, oh, it's this is this is just how things work. um, there's always both energies and there's always crossover and connection and flow back and forth between them, both within a thing. Like there's a polarity to the Empress, but then there's a cross arc. There's a polarity between the Empress and the Emperor. Um, and they're different polarities. They show up differently, but they both exist.
Yeah.
And then there's that across an infinite number of other pairs of things. And because I'll hear people say, "Oh, we should get rid of binaries." I'm like, "Well, you can't get rid of binaries.
No.
You
No.
can't get rid of binaries. But you can get rid of the assumption that it's an either or.
Mhm.
It's a both
Yeah.
and. It's both ends and everything in between. And the tension is the point.
Every time I hear somebody talk about polarity, I always like to think about it in terms of magnets and pH.
Yeah.
Because a magnet, if you were to like break down a magnet into its molecular parts, you'd still have on one side positive and the other side negative.
Mhm.
It's both in it's not like one side of this piece is the plus side and the others. No, it every single molecule is aligned like that. So every piece of it has both sides to it. pH is the same way. Everything has a pH. Everything. Some
And
things
if it
we
didn't
call
work
them.
that way, we wouldn't have electricity,
It's true. We will not.
right?
Yes.
Like, we couldn't even be having this conversation right now if that's not how it worked.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe there could be some alternative physics. Like, someone will always have a thing that can prove what I just said wrong. But, like, at least in this timeline, we
That's
could not
right.
have this conversation because there would be no electricity.
If
Uh,
magnets didn't work that way.
yeah, because
It's
magnetism and
also true.
electricity are two sides of the same coin.
Yeah. And
It,
pH is in there too, because when they make batteries,
uh huh,
there's pH involved there.
uh huh. Yeah, it's really obvious if you even barely dip into some of that stuff that, oh, well, this is literally built into the fabric of how reality is structured
Mhm.
at the highest and lowest levels and everything in between. So we have to figure out how to live in that. And I feel like we have, as a society, for so long tried to choose sides that the unconscious, like, imbalance that is built up over time is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And, when that happens, usually something explodes. That's
Yes.
how you get world wars. Um, if you look through our history, like these things don't resolve neatly. They tend to blow up a little bit. And it's not just like wars like we're looking at the danger of now, but it's like science works that way. Like when we started questioning that the earth was the center of the universe, they killed you for saying that. Like because you're questioning God's order. Um, and it's not that you were questioning God's order, is that all this shit the church is saying doesn't make sense anymore if that's true.
Mhm.
And so it's threatening that. um, so these things don't tend to like I don't think it's just gonna magically get better. I think we're gonna end up having some, you know, a lot more uncomfortable before it gets better. But I
Yeah.
also think it's going to get better. Like, it's cyclical.
Mm-hmm.
You can't look at history and not see that. Yeah, and the real question in my mind is there enough restraint built into the cosmos that we're not going to blow ourselves up before the end of the next cycle?
Yeah. Yeah.
But something tells me like I keep have this hope in me. I don't know where it comes from, that we will actually get through this cycle without, you know, blowing up reality.
Yeah.
And there will be something else on the other side that's a lot better than what we're experiencing right now. Because I think that the universe wants to grow and learn about itself and all this stuff. So, like, well, you can't really do that if you destroy yourself. So, not going to let that happen. Um, I have no basis for that in anything scientific or otherwise. It's just what I've thought about this a lot lately. Like, are we going to make it? I think we are. Doesn't mean it's not gonna be a shit show along the way, but I think we're gonna make it.
There,
So
I
there's my
like it.
wisdom. There's
There's
my
your
wisdom.
wisdom. We're gonna make it.
We're gonna make
So,
it. We're all gonna make it. It's gonna be fine.
I love it.
How about you? You got any wisdom to impart before we depart?
No, I don't think so.
No? Okay. We're just gonna leave it like that.
I think so. I think that was really good message of hope within all of that. And yeah, probably some of the themes will still continue to be around masculine, feminine, and the low sides of everything and the high sides of everything. And what does it look like to integrate those things instead of trying to shove parts of it under a rug, right? That's really what it's all about collectively. And I think that's what a lot of, like, when we personally go through difficult times that feel like we're stuck between a rock and a hard place, it's usually a growth moment where we're supposed to learn something new. And I think that the collective unconscious does the same thing. And it's a little
Yeah.
more broad violence, unfortunately, and it affects very real people in very real ways. I'm not going to sugarcoat that, but I agree with you in general. I think that there's a societal, collective, unconscious rock and a hard place that we're dealing with. And what does growth path look like from here, basically? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Totally.
Integration. And the more we do personal integration, the more we see societal integration.
Also
I
that.
truly see this.
That's so important. Like, even if all you do is your own work, you are still making things better.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you do not have to go out on a crusade to fix the
No.
world. Fix yourself, and you are separateness is an illusion. We're all connected. By making yourself grow, you are making humanity grow. You are making the universe grow. So, that's so important. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. I mean, of course, if you feel super called to take action outside of your own world, awesome.
Yes. Yes.
If all you can do is just clearing out your own belief systems that are not serving you and integrating the parts of you that are actually serving you but you're hiding, if that is all you can functionally do, you are doing the world another good service as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
You can't do good in this world without affecting the rest of it. It's just
it's true.
it's that is something that I firmly believe to be true, and I don't know what would convince me otherwise, because I feel like I've experienced it myself. Like, I mean, I don't know. You feel like you're working on yourself and you're getting better, and all of a sudden you realize that the people around you are also getting better.
Yeah.
And are they really changing or are you changing? Like,
Hmm.
don't know, but everybody's experience improved, so sounds good to me. More
Yep.
of that, please.
Yes, please. You want
You
to
wanna take
affect the
us out?
timeline. take it inside, take it internal. Yeah. So if you enjoyed this episode, then tell us that you enjoyed it, because we love to hear your feedback. We love to hear everything you have to say. If you didn't like it, that's okay too. Tell us what you didn't like about it. I don't care. Because feedback is good, and like we said, we don't pretend to hold anything so sacred. No, we're perfect. We're not perfect. So
No.
it's all on the table. Well, have a great week, and we will see you next time.
See ya.
If something correct opened during this episode, sit with it. Don't rush to patch it. This show runs on hard questions and the people willing to keep asking them. If that's you, leave a review. It helps more people find their way to the edge. We'll keep pulling the thread. See you next time. This is Rewired.